can't do either of the sounds you guys just did.
Aww.
So you have to be able to roll your R's.
I'm sure there's something
I think you
can do. I can't do.
I can wiggle my ears.
I can't do that. That didn't take long at all.
You're like, I can do that. I can't do that. Okay, you can stop wiggling your ears now. You want to ask the question?
Oh, we are rolling, people. What you could not hear was I was just wiggling my ears.
I don't
The
think.
irony of that statement, because it involved ears, but you could not hear it.
Ooh.
Okay,
Hmm.
we've had a weird
Yeah.
prep time. So
This is the first time we've been all together in a while.
It's been a minute.
Look at this.
yeah,
Would you look at that?
Just look at it.
Would
Me
you
and
just
Morgan
look at it?
Look at us.
Look at us.
We're here. All
We
three
just
of us.
quoted two different
Yeah.
memes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just look at it.
Yeah, that guy and then Paul Rudd
Yeah.
on
Ah.
the
Hot ones?
Hot Ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's dive in with an icebreaker.
Okay.
What was your favorite show as a kid?
Barney.
Why?
I don't know.
What'd you like about it?
The I Love You song.
Okay. Did it make you feel warm and fuzzy?
It did.
Okay.
I really loved Barney and all of his like imagination stuff, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And Baby
too.
Bop.
Baby Bob.
Yeah, that was her name. I did it.
CJ was the yellow one that came
Oh
on later.
gosh, now it's getting too
He was-
late.
I think that's right.
I don't
that
know.
feels right to me.
I loved Barney though. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Barney. I don't
Huh.
think I was big Barney.
You were probably
BJ. He's a Protoceratops.
Hmm.
Baby Bop's older brother.
Interesting.
you
Interesting.
had it. Yes.
That guy.
You had to Google.
That guy.
Oh.
But, I mean, it helps. It
It
was
does.
Baby Bop's older brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep. How about for you, Morgan? Your favorite?
So for a show, I was a big Wiggles kid.
Yeah.
But there was a movie that I don't really remember it.
Yeah.
But my mom said I would watch it almost every single day. And
Wow.
it was Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin. And I just did a quick just wanted to see what this was about. And it says it was Winnie the Pooh and he's embarking on a quest to rescue Christopher Robin from certain doom in a place called
gosh.
Skull after
Oh.
misreading a note he left for them. So I was twisted, I guess. Just a twisted
Wow.
child.
They don't
Yeah.
make kids programs like that anymore.
No, I can't imagine it's quite
Now it's like
as...
Teletubbies and Boobas and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, it's rated G. It can't be too bad, right? And that was in '97. Like the ratings were still fairly accurate in '97.
You think they were more accurate then?
I feel like everything these days is rated
Edged up?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to
Interesting.
tell because like some stuff you go and it's like it says PG-13 and it's like, wow, this would have been R a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's partially because they didn't used to have PG-13. It was just PG and then R.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that gets classified one way or the other way
Gotcha.
before they had a PG-13. Yeah.
And now there's TV-14.
Yeah. Are there movies that are classified
I
like
don't
that?
know.
I guess
I
I
just
assume
know
because
that-
of the TV-14. that
Right.
is for
That's
television.
just only TV.
Television.
There's also
Wow.
like M.
A.
and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
Adult.
There's
Yeah.
just a fun story while we're on the rating
Yeah.
system thing. There was a time that Tia and I were going on vacation and I let her put together like the playlist for the vacation.
Yep.
And we get in there and it's starting to play some of these songs. And I'm like, what is this? And turns out Tia had picked all songs that had an E for everyone on them, which on music does not mean everyone. It means explicit. So it's like, dang.
Gamer girl doesn't understand that E for music
Rated
is
E
bad.
for everyone.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's good.
If you know Tia, that's quite hysterical.
Yep.
Yes.
For me, I'm going to say like probably the most homeschooler thing that I could say, which was I loved Andy Griffith.
Okay. Okay.
Aw.
Was that black and white?
For some of it, and then it
Okay.
got colorized later.
Okay. I don't
Yep.
know if I've ever seen it.
I loved it. I mean, I liked watching Looney Tunes as well, which was so it just shows more like what my parents liked. And
Okay.
yeah. Anyway,
My
Yeah.
kids watch Looney Tunes now.
It's timeless, I think.
yeah. Although like now, as you go back again with the rating thing, it's like as you watch Looney Tunes, it's like sometimes there are episodes you're like, this was for kids?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
this is kind of raunchy.
That's good.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what we're talking. I mean, we're introducing grow, so maybe we're talking about like ways that we've
Grown.
Grown.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's talk about
I don't watch Barney anymore, guys.
that's growth.
Yeah. Wow.
That's growth.
Well done.
I would
Thank
still
you.
watch Andy Griffith if it was on right now.
I would still sing the Wiggles songs.
Yeah, you were singing the Wiggles
I
songs
was
moments
not too
ago.
long ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot potato, hot potato.
I missed the Wiggles fad. My kids did not. So I
Okay.
know a lot of those songs because my kids have watched the Wiggles, especially Silas likes the Wiggles.
Ooh.
Anyway, we are entering into a new era of follow. This would be 9 out of 9. The ninth
Whoa.
relational skill we're talking about, which is grow, the third one in the way we interact with ourselves. So we've had reflect, guard, and then grow. And this is specifically like the focus on self-development, like that aspect of like taking stock of what God's given you and being intentional about investing it and developing it and like making sure that you're using it to the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
And so it's a fun one. I've always been a huge proponent of personal growth and development. So I enjoy this conversation a lot. And so we're kicking it off with several verses from Ephesians 4. And so it's spanning kind of the whole chapter of Ephesians 4, but we're selecting a few specific verses.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that understanding, what are your big ideas?
Mine was believers are to stay united by being humble, growing spiritually, and following Christ's teachings, aiming to become more like him.
What you got, Morgan?
Because of God's saving gift in Jesus, believers are to grow to be unified in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Mine was God's design for the church is that we aid one another in becoming mature. Mature, if you are
Mature.
actually, in
Mature.
fact, mature. Tia and I joke around that. She's like, now I'm mature. It's pretty great. Okay. Love it. So you see in there a theme of maturity and growth and development. That's kind of the focus of this. So let's talk context for the book of Ephesians. What do we need to know?
So we see the story of Paul's arrival in Ephesus in detail in Acts 19, which
Mhm.
yesterday you kind of gave a brief part
Sure.
of
It's
Acts
like it's kind of an interesting story where he shows up there and then that because of that, because of his arrival and people converting to the gospel, like there's this mass like burning of magic books and idols and that kind of stuff because they recognize that the gospel is true and that this idolatry that they're practicing is not okay, which then that threatens the livelihood of Ephesus, which had a whole lot of like their income based on selling paraphernalia around the goddess Artemis. And so with that, there's lots of, they felt very threatened. And so anyway, it's just kind of an interesting story. And then there's like a guy who stands up and like makes a case for them. And anyway, it's pretty cool. And I think that may even play into some of the themes of Ephesians with like the emphasis on the powers of darkness and principalities and stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and then Paul also stayed in Ephesus for 2 years, and which led to like conversion of multiple people into Christianity. So starting that church. One of the cool things from studying yesterday that like I just kept getting stuck on was Paul probably wrote this around 62 AD. And if we go back a few weeks, whenever first we were talking about First Timothy potentially could have been here at
In
this time
Ephesus.
in Ephesus. Whenever this was circulating, this letter was. I just thought that was really neat. Like, hey, the whole church gets this one letter, but Timothy, you get this personal letter. I thought it was kind of cool.
Paul was writing.
He was.
Writing up a storm.
Yeah.
Making good use of that jail time.
Yeah.
Yes, he was in prison
Yep.
in Rome.
Yep. So like you said, this was written to churches in and around Ephesus. And one of the things I was reading, so this was probably like a circular letter that would have been passed around to different churches that were in the surrounding area, in Ephesus and around it. So not just to one specific, like the way we think about it, like one specific church, but like multiple. And another thing that I thought was super cool was a commentator pointed out just like the tone of Paul's, the way he's writing in this is that most of his letters to churches, because they are to a very specific situation in the church, he's a lot more blunt with the way he teaches and instructs them, and the way that he corrects. But with this, the letter is a little bit more broad and kind of sensitive in the way that he teaches and advises, because of, I think, the fact that it was going to be so widespread. And I just think that's cool to see his different tone and how he would even apply it differently based off of his relationship with them and where he was sending it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here just a little bit. So in Revelation 2, we see this letter to the church in Ephesus. So we've got it's kind of neat to see the story arc, right? You've got in Acts, and then you've got the Timothy's there, and you've got the letter to the Ephesians, and then Revelation, Jesus is talking to the church in Ephesus and describes how they're really good at rooting out false teaching and stuff like that. They know the gospel, and that they crave sound doctrine. But he says, "This I have against you, that you've abandoned or lost or left your first love." And so I wonder how much that even factors into Paul's tone here. It's if they're doing a good job, if he's usually correcting false doctrine, hey, we got to be sharp and to the point with this false doctrine. But if he's also nurturing and stoking the fire of love. Anyway, I don't know.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
Well,
just a thought.
Just kind of chewing on that a little bit more, thinking about it, is the cool part is we're going back to First Timothy. Whenever he was talking to him, he was telling him to beware of false teachers. And that whole entire letter here, kind of the same thing. And then we get, 30 years later, 30 years later, John is writing the letter from Jesus to the church of Ephesus and saying that they are really good at staying good in sound doctrine. So it's man, this was a church that took what Paul said and took it to heart to actually be diligent in pruning out the false teacher. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think that's a good point.
So another cool part that we kind of pointed out yesterday that I didn't catch before, that Paul could have been writing this at the same time he was writing Colossians.
Yeah.
So there's parallels between Colossians and Ephesians. And then also there was a letter to Flaming. Nope.
Flaming.
Just say it. Philemon. And then Tychus and Onesimus. He hates it so much. We're entrusted with delivering all three of these letters. You can say his name correctly.
Tychus and Onesimus. These are the worst.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I found so it's not it seemed as I was doing research not only possible, but actually quite probable that Paul wrote Colossians and Ephesians at the same time and sent them both on a trip with Tychicus to that region.
Yeah,
and so I think something that was neat to me in reading commentary is there's a whole lot of them saying hey, this part of Ephesians is him expanding on this theme that was in Colossians. And as you do that, it's just so much back and forth.
Yeah.
If you read them back to back, you'll see the themes are so closely tied. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because if he's writing them at the same time and kind of in the same vein, that's really cool to think about how the different or the same idea being expressed and the way he wrote. Yeah, that's just cool. I love that.
Yeah.
They would have been about 120 miles apart. Colossae.
Ephesus and Colossae.
Okay. Colossae.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it.
No, I almost said Colossae.
Colossae?
But that seems like it's multiple.
Multiple Colossae. Okay, what else contextually you guys got?
So, Ephesians is divided into two halves. So the first half is where Paul is really hammering in on the gospel and the story of the gospel and how it all came. And then the second half is linked to the therefore in chapter 4, where now how are we supposed to live? So that reminded me a lot of Romans. We see that in Romans where he's really laying it out there. And then the last half of Romans, he's hey, this is how you're supposed to live.
Yeah. Which I appreciate that even in the sequencing of stuff, that it's the foundation is the gospel.
Yes.
if you put it the other way around, if you like, hey, here's all the stuff you need to do. Also, let me tell you about the gospel, then it can feel like you're earning God's favor. And so Paul has like no qualms like about intentionally putting it gospel first and then behavior.
Yeah, I haven't really thought of it like that, how he is setting it up that this is the most important. That's pretty good. Good job, Paul.
I like the
Paul, if you're listening.
decent. Yeah, Paul, if you're listening. I like it. It was decent. Might have done it the same, might have done it different, but good job. Okay, anything else contextually?
I think leading up to our chapter, just something that I thought was cool to point out is just like Paul as the author here, he uses himself as an example of God's transforming power. He's talking about the mystery of the gospel and how that's revealed to those. And he calls himself like the least of these saints. So he's not even setting himself on this pedestal. He's actually putting himself like way down, which is also cool when we think of like kind of the stuff that he talks about here with like character of God and the way that you're supposed to view yourself and all that. I just think that's interesting that he's also following through with that as well. Like he doesn't think of himself as better, but also it sets up for like, hey, like even me, you know, this guy, and through God's grace, you know, the revelation of what was done for us was revealed to me. And now, I get the opportunity to share and minister. It's just really cool to see.
Yep. Okay. And as Stephanie hinted at a second ago, we are entering into the second half of Ephesians. So having explained the gospel in very clear terms, like I think Ephesians 2:1-11 is probably like, it's one of my favorite explanations of the gospel. I might have the verses wrong, but it's in Ephesians 2. So, if you're wanting to just like get a succinct story of the gospel, it's a great place to go.
Yeah.
And so then we are coming in to chapter 4, which is where it pivots and starts talking about like, okay, because of this, how should we then live? Okay, let's take it. We'll just do 1-3. Morgan, you want to read that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I, therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Sweet. Okay, so what do you guys have for this section?
So, prisoner there with Paul being in prison currently as he's writing this letter. He is not talking about being a prisoner of Rome right here. He's talking about being a prisoner of Christ, how he has surrendered himself to the Lord. I just thought that was kind of neat. It's like, okay, he's sitting in prison right now, but yet that's not what he's talking about.
Well, he says a prisoner for the Lord.
Yes.
Not a prisoner of the Lord.
Right. My bad.
So, no, it's okay. I'm just thinking this through with you. So he's saying, he's recognizing that the reason he's doing this, the reason that he's a prisoner is not because of Rome, but it's because of the Lord. Or the reason right? Is that kind of what you're after? Because he is talking about specifically like being a Roman prisoner, but he's saying he's doing it because of the Lord. We're thinking.
I'm thinking.
Think.
I know. I don't know. Yep.
I think he's talking about his physical reality of being an actual literal prisoner. But he's not just saying, I therefore a prisoner of Rome.
Right.
But he's saying, I therefore a prisoner for the Lord. He's saying that like because of this good news of the gospel, like I gladly sit in prison because of what Jesus has done for me. Is that kind of how you're thinking about it?
No, that wasn't how I was thinking about it. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
It's just now I'm like sitting here thinking differently.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to think on it. And then, I'll probably come back to it because that's kind of what I do.
I dig it. Okay. So he's in prison. He's there because he's committed to the Lord, and he's urging them to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which they've been called.
Yeah. And I love that that little phrase there of like what they're supposed to be doing. So urging them, this is because of something. And so the therefore, at the very beginning, we know that is usually, you know, whatever was preceding that. And you can kind of wrap it up as the first 3 chapters of him, like beautifully explaining the gospel, and praising God for the gift that he's given. And then we have this, like we said, this is the act of that. But I think that this is really cool that, like you were saying, that it's not flipped, because it's not earning God's love. It's not, we don't walk this way so that God will love us. But we do it because he loves us. It's this motivation out of gratitude for the gift. Not trying to earn anything. Yeah. And that also makes it so much more powerful whenever he says, hey, I urge you to walk in this manner of the, you know, of what you've been called to do, because this is not something that you're trying to achieve. And you get to sit back and you get to say, oh, I get to do this. God's given me this gift. And now, how do I respond to that? It's just so much better than like trying to chase that carrot at the end. Like, hey, here's your, reward. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just like even, it's a very different approach to life. Like, I think, we naturally think of like, how do I, like that we need to earn our salvation. And like, that just constantly creeps back into our hearts. And so thinking that like, if I want to be called, I better walk in a worthy manner. And it's like, no, you have been called. So like, live like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it might've been Stephanie that pointed out yesterday, maybe that this calling is like specifically about salvation, not primarily about like your vocation, because we use calling in different ways. It's like we can talk about that kind of like our gifting or the purpose that God's given us like uniquely, but here he's talking about the calling to which every believer has been called, which he's already laid out in the gospel, that we are called to salvation by the Lord.
Yeah, that's what I had. This idea of calling goes back to the beginning of the book. God has called us to himself by his grace. He has blessed us with every spiritual blessing. And we see that in Ephesians 1:3.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I think I agree. I'm going back to the prisoner thing. Yes. So I think I'm on the same page as you. I had to read it multiple times and then kind of look back at some of the things. But you're saying he is a prisoner for the Lord because like he stood up for like the gospel?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So even introducing this concept right here, because I mean, like, why does he say right now, I'm a prisoner for the Lord? Because he's getting ready to urge them to walk in a manner worthy of the calling. So he's setting himself up as an example, even of saying like, hey, because of what the Lord has done in me, because he has called me, like I will walk in a manner worthy of that, which for me right now means being a prisoner.
Right.
Yes.
So
agreed.
He ties his like being a prisoner, not just to like, Rome's idiots, you know, they'll let me out eventually and stuff. And until then I'll do a bad situation. But he sees it as like, he sees the spiritual significance of being able to, and he sees this as him walking in a manner that is worthy of the calling to which he's been called.
Yes.
All right.
We did it.
Boom.
That was good.
That was a high five. It was a good high five,
That
too.
was a good one. It needed to be a little bit more over, but it was good.
Okay. Well, I wasn't watching your elbow, so that's probably the problem. Here, you and me, Morgan. Maybe.
Yeah, no, that was kind of bad.
His elbow was behind his water bottle. I couldn't get a good view.
So the elbow's what does it?
Yep. Little known trick that if you watch someone's elbow while you're giving them a high five,
really?
land perfect every time.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yep. So if you get nothing else, there's a little pro tip for you. What else from 1 through 3?
So what does it mean to walk worthy? It means to look like Jesus. So, and then we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. Is it like to walk with Jesus and with all humility, gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love? Or is this the definition of the qualities and like what the characteristic looks like?
Where did you land there?
This and so more of like we've been called to salvation. So we have this. And so we're supposed to walk with humility, gentleness, patience.
Yeah, so it seemed to me like it's like these would be these qualifiers or these qualities of humility and gentleness and patience and bearing with one another, they would be included in the manner of life that is worthy of the calling, but they're not like the sum total
Right.
of that life. So he's saying, hey, I want to emphasize a few specific things here. And who knows why? It's like that it might be that they're foundational things. It might be that they most tie thematically to what he's been saying or getting ready to say, or it might be that it's something in particular that the Ephesians needed to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking was it definitely was like qualifiers he wanted to pull out. Maybe just because of their circumstances with false teaching going on around them. Like these are some of the things that they're going to need to do, in order to still, be humble, be gentle, and be patient. And in all of those ways, like whenever you're correcting, whenever you're calling somebody out for whatever it may be, because those things, if you do it the opposite, if you're arrogant in the way you correct, or if you're not, or you get like to a point where you're like, oh, they're never going to figure it out, and you get impatient about it. Those things can destroy, first of all, like the unity that's there, that's being talked about. And also, I mean, it's just, it's hard to get somebody on your side whenever you aren't doing it in a way that's loving. So,
So that last phrase of eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace, looking into it, like one of the commentaries I read was talking about that eager to maintain unity. It's not just interpersonal and unity, and it's not just like in a local congregation, but actually like that desire that the universal church, every believer would experience unity, and lacking in division. And then, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit with the bond of peace. That, eager to maintain can feel a little bit passive in the way it reads in English of like, oh yeah, as long as like, I would love for there to be unity.
Right.
But actually it has a lot more like activeness to it in the Greek. It's like, hey, I'm going to chase this down. I'm going to like step into how do I promote unity? How do I pursue it and seek unity? Whereas I think is a cool picture.
Yeah, one of the notes I had says we do not work to create unity, but to keep it. And so that maintain there.
Which is huge because that's a large part of what Paul's been talking about, right? He's been talking about how like the mystery of the gospel is that Jews and Gentiles are brought into the same family. And so because God has done that, let's not break it apart, but let's actively seek to keep it together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Anything else you guys see there?
Not for me.
I think, and you guys can push back if you want, like whenever it talks about, maintain the unity of the Spirit, earlier in Ephesians 1:11-14. So Paul kind of talks about how the Spirit is what protects and preserves believers, as they're striving towards that, the ultimate, like what we're going to talk about in a little bit here. So it seems like what they're maintaining is like through the help of the Spirit. Does that check out to you guys? I think that's also cool and encouraging to read as well, of that it's not them doing it on their own. So one, they didn't create the bond of unity, the unifying bond. Their job is to maintain it, but it's also not like just them maintaining it, through the work of the Spirit and in them, it's helping preserve and protect.
Yeah. I even wonder, like, even the current reality. So I love that. I love what you're drawing out. And I'm even thinking about like another nuance of it of like, what is it that actually unifies us? So it's not just that the Spirit initiated it. It's not just that he's perfecting it or maintaining it or whatever, but he actually is the unity. Like the fact that we both have the Holy Spirit inside of us is like what unifies us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's
I love
really
that.
good.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else there?
I don't think so.
I think something that's outside of this actual text, but very much there's a whole lot of focus on unity. And so in between the verses that we're actually studying, he lists like 7 things that we're supposed to be that unify us. So he says that we're one body, one Spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and one God and Father. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of cool. So whenever we think unity, there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Ephesians 4. So still in the same chapter, but skipping down from verse 3 to verse 13 through 15. You want to read it, Steph?
Sure. Until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, so that we may no longer be children tossed to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness and deceitful schemes, rather speaking the truth in love. We are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ.
Excellent.
Did I miss something?
No, manhood could also be womanhood if you are a female.
Yeah. I'll allow it.
Just thought I should get that out there.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys see in this chunk?
So attain to until we all achieve the unity of faith. One of the commentators I read said that the unity of faith could be the body of doctrine, and then the knowledge of the Son of God could be, which involves both like the intellect and the heart. It's not just, so those together, and then you have it to mature manhood or womanhood.
We'll just keep saying manhood. And just if you're a woman, understand this.
I want to do it both
every
ways.
time. We always have to say he or she.
Yeah. Every single
that.
time.
Yes.
Breaks up the flow of it.
No, but we want to make it as true as we can, right?
Okay,
I'm kidding. But when we have the mature manhood, and then in verse 14, so that we may no longer be children. So the contrast between those two and how different those two are, where children are easily like gullible and can fall astray quickly, where if you're more mature in your faith, you stand strong on it. Not saying that we get it perfect.
Right. I think that is such a cool contrast and metaphor that's being used there of like children and like an adult person. Because you just think about even me with, an 8-month-old baby, like you can go hide behind the wall and he thinks I've completely disappeared.
He has no
from
permanence.
Yeah. It's just fun to think about. Like
Dad stopped existing.
Yeah. And Dad's gone.
Yes.
Where did he go?
Yeah. But they are. They're easily tricked. They don't know what they don't know. Which
makes for some fun parenting moments.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. Yeah. So until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of Son of God, something that a question I had when reading that is like, at what point is that? Like, at what point do we all attain to the unity of the faith? And so, that was, doing some research into that. It seems to be pointing forward to whenever Christ returns and welcomes his bride into heaven. At that point, there will be absolute, perfect, full unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, and mature manhood and the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ.
Which the fullness of Christ there is an expression of completion or perfection, correct? So that is whenever we come to that? Okay.
Yep. So it's talking about a future reality. And right before this, he's been talking about that God gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds and teachers to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for the building up of the body, until we all attain this. So he's saying that God has provided everything we need to see it through all the way to the completion. So he's painting a picture of what does this look like at the end of all things? What does this look like? And it's unity of faith. Like, we all will believe the right things. And we will know even as we are fully known. We will be mature. We will have the stature and fullness of Christ. So
I love that too. Whenever you think about, the jobs that are being presented here, and the idea that is that it's constantly ongoing until that time, that it's not there's never a moment where you can say, okay, I think we've gotten it to the point where it's okay now. It's no, this is a constant, never ending until we get to that point, which is when Jesus comes back.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
I agree, because I think so to acknowledge that, that none of us is fully mature, that we all have areas of immaturity, I think is part of what propels this desire for growth. And what compels us to be humble and seeking that kind of the correction and stuff that we need. So I think that understanding of this as the future of where this goes is important.
So tossed to and fro. The ancient Greek word for tossed to and fro is from the same words used in Luke whenever he's talking about the stormy Sea of Galilee. So the raging of water. I also am wondering, I mean, this is me just kind of getting off on a different type of tangent, I guess, but the water was actually quite scary to them at the time.
It frequently represented like the
danger,
chaos and danger. Yeah.
So
it was not like when we talk about water, it's like, you know, we're going to the beach or whatever. Like, oh, that sounds nice. Like, I love laying out by the water. They're like, this is the representation of absolute chaos and destruction in our world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was just something I was kind of thinking of. Not that he is using that here for that. It's just...
It might be, though.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, like... So he says that we may no longer be children, and he gives two descriptors of children. That they are tossed to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, human cunning, and craftiness. So kids are able to be tossed about by the waves and carried about by doctrine, cunning, and schemes. That's the like gullibility piece. So I wonder if the waves does have to do with even like the way we approach like trials and life circumstances. If they would have thought of that as like forces of chaos. So tossed to and fro by the waves.
That's good.
Like especially whenever someone is newer to the faith. And that immature, it's like everything feels like something's going wrong. It's like, this is God's judgment upon me, or like God stopped loving me, or maybe I was wrong to even believe in Jesus. I thought this would get better. And like, as you see someone who's walked with Jesus for a long time, you start to see more stability in the way that they approach life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you think that's exactly what my mind went to is fresh believer gets hit by something really hard the first time and how staggering it can be. But that's partially from, just not getting to that sense of maturity and the experience of having, that's cool. Well, not cool, but
yeah. I also see the potential. So because he uses waves and then wind, I also see the potential that he is more like, rather than talking. So I'm just like exploring my own idea, right? And testing it because he used waves and wind. It could all still be in like the metaphor of the doctrine and cunning and schemes as well, instead of the life circumstances.
Yeah. Since on the water, the waves and the wind are kind of the guiding forces out there. And if you just kind of let them steer you wherever, that's that false doctrine or false teaching that you just go wherever it's pulling you at that moment until you reach the point where you're like, oh, that's not the direction I'm supposed to head. So then you can redirect. You can,
So it may be still more specifically in the realm of like teaching and what we believe. I don't know. Just a question.
I like it.
And then we have in verse 15 that rather speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him who's the head, into Christ. What do you guys have for that? What do you guys think of when you hear that phrase, speaking the truth in love?
I think of, and I don't have a note for this, so this is me just telling you my thoughts. Okay. So, thinking about like how to approach a believer whenever you see them falling away from the gospel or
being tossed to and fro.
Being tossed to and fro. Yeah. You're supposed to come up to them and lovingly correct them and tell them about it, because it is more unloving to allow them to walk and do and be tossed to and fro than to help guide them in the right path. And so that's what I'm thinking.
So the necessity of speaking the truth rather than like ignoring truth. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And the flip of that, it's like there's an unhealthy way to speak the truth, right?
Yep.
That is not done out of love, but it's just like putting somebody in their place, putting them straight.
Belittling them. And
I think we've all experienced that at some point in our life where it's like, man, the things you're saying like might be true, but like I'm not feeling the love right now.
Yeah. The way you're saying it doesn't feel like you're pushing me to be more like Jesus. It just feels like you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then we have the,
Yeah.
we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ. So like we are to model Christ-like characterness, right?
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
And so Christ is not going to come alongside somebody and belittle or put down whenever
Yeah.
he's correcting them.
That's great.
He's going to do it with loving kindness.
Yeah. Cool. I think like the major takeaway of this section for me in this like fleshing out our concept of grow is the idea that like there's going to be a day where we reach full maturity, but that day is not today.
Yep.
And so until then, like we must pursue maturity in ourselves and in each other, recognizing that we're at different phases of our journey and we need each other's help to grow.
Yep. Yeah, I think the big standout for me was at the end, the Christ is the head. So who is the head? So we're not doing this independently of Jesus. This isn't an act of just becoming a more mature person or whatever your idea of mature is. This is always in him and toward him.
Yep.
Christ at the head. And that's what our goal is. And like you said, we're still attaining to that every single day. And like the goal is to eventually arrive there whenever it happens, but we're not trying to just do it on our own. I just love anything that always reminds us of who it is that we're pushing toward.
Yeah. Anything else on that section?
Not for me.
Okay. I think this is just kind of an offshoot thought, but like thinking about that doctrinal piece, I do think there's some understanding here that like the doctrine does matter, and that one day we'll all have the right faith and knowledge, but like that again, that's not yet. And so one of the significant ways that we need to be growing up into Christ is by having our doctrine corrected. So where it's just like, again, whenever people are new believers, they hear whatever and they're like, oh, I didn't know that was true about God and stuff. And so having our sensibility refined by the Holy Spirit and by other believers, that we should be very willing to have someone question our beliefs, to see like, hey, do we think the right things about who God is?
Yeah.
Okay. And then going into verses 21 through 24, the last little section here, I'll go ahead and read it. As the truth is in Jesus, to put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. So, yeah, how about this chunk? What you got?
You kind of see like a little bit of a reiteration of everything that he's talked about. So the truth is in Jesus. So this is similar to what we know and what he talks about in those first 3 chapters. He's like, hey, so here's what we know. Here's the truth. We know the gospel. We know what God did for us. And so now, because of that, there's an old self that you're going to experience and that you're supposed to put off, that is supposed to be behind you now. I think that is just an important thing for Paul to point out of it's still going to be present and something you have to fight and something that doesn't just disappear. But because of the gift of what God gave us, man, we should want that to be behind us and fighting to put that away.
Stephanie, I appreciate you like bringing out the kind of the imagery that he's calling upon here. Would you like, what is he, when he's talking about putting off and putting on, what's he have in mind?
Yeah. So like the putting off and putting on clothes, like is the imagery that we have. So whenever living in a life full, like them specifically in this hub place of where they worship Roman gods and goddesses, he's telling them to take that stuff off and put on Christ likeness. And in that though, like you can put on a brand new set of clothes and still have the dirty clothes underneath it. I think Rob talked about that yesterday, like putting on a clean shirt over a dirty shirt, like it's still going to be gross on the underneath. So you can try to cover it up, but sometimes if you're not fully taking it off, it's not.
Yeah. So run that out just a little bit. So whenever you're saying like hey, it's important to not just put on new over the
So to put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds.
So
it's
renewed is the part that you're talking about specifically?
And to put on new self. So in verse 24, he says, and to put on new self, created after the likeness of God.
Got it. So you have this process of like removing the sinful, the old self and being cleansed. So it's like, take off your old clothes, take a bath, and put on the new clothes. Like, don't just take off the old clothes. I'm like, when I come in from mowing or whatever, I'm just like all nasty. It's like, I don't just like take off the clothes and put on new clothes. My new clothes would just get dirty.
Right. Yeah.
Take a shower.
Yeah. And it's not the idea either of like putting on a mask or like just to cover up what's under. Like it's actually taking that off, getting rid of it and replacing it with the new. I think is so important. Of the goal isn't to just make it look like you're doing these things. It's to actually want them gone.
Yeah. And I think, so Rob brought up yesterday, verse 20, that however, it is not the way of life you have learned. So they had not learned this lifestyle that Paul is like instructing them to. And so just how he's kind of laying it out, of when you heard about Christ and were taught in him accordance with the truth that is in Jesus. So he's like telling them you were taught with regard to your former way of life, and he's pushing it forward. I think I'm doing a different translation. Yeah, that was NIV. I'm like, why does that not
right? Feel right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the way Paul talks about that old self with that word corrupt is actually pretty makes it pretty bold of like how gross it is. Like the word is like rotten and decaying. It's like how it can, like nasty. And the way sin should make us feel and the way that old self should make us feel is like that was the kind of place you were headed, is to this rotten, decaying life. I think that puts a boldness to it that kind of, it encourages me of like, I don't want that for me, and God doesn't want that for me. And the gift that he's given me means I don't have to have that. So get rid of that, you know? Yeah.
Sorry, I just found this in a commentary and I thought it was really cool and I wanted to share, but the phrase to learn a person appears nowhere else in the Bible. And to date has not been traced anywhere else in a pre-biblical Greek document. So Paul is using a relational language. When you become a Christian, you do not merely learn about the teaching of Jesus, you develop a relationship with him.
That you've learned Christ, specifically, not learned about Christ.
Yes.
That's cool.
I just thought that was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about like, again, this is all built upon the foundation of the gospel. So like, I'm thinking about, this is not the way we, so it's not that in order to earn salvation that we stop doing the bad things we used to do and then start doing better things. And that's still not the way that like, it's only because of the gospel that we can say, hey, that's my old self. That's not who I am anymore. Like that's my former manner of life that was corrupt. That's not my present manner of life. Right. And so again, thinking about that, like the future looking, whenever we are fully righteous, in our practice, and whenever we look fully like Jesus, it's looking forward to that and saying, what pieces of like my behavior and character right now aren't that? And I want to put it off, be renewed, and put on the new self.
It says the parallel text is Colossians 3:8-10, where he says, but now you must also put away all of the following: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and filthy language from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, since you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on new self. You are being renewed in the knowledge according to the image of your Creator.
Yeah. So I think very practically, I really like this, this put off and put on imagery. Yeah. Because I think it's so helpful for us as Christians, like even just to ask a simple diagnostic question of like, hey, what things in my life, like, do I need to stop doing because they don't look like Jesus? Yeah. They're not what Jesus would do, and they're not helping me become like him. Right. And then what things might I need to start doing? So like from a very simplistic look at grow, it's like, that's a very practical way to grow. It's saying like, what are some things I need to stop doing? What are things I need to start doing in order to live in accordance with who God's made me to be?
Yeah, which is a really good self-reflection. Like that is something we do need to be asking ourselves or asking other people to like show it in us. Like,
I like it.
Me too.
Okay. Anything else there?
No.
Anything else for you, Morgana?
Morgana. It's better than, I used to have a buddy that called me Morg.
Ugh.
Yeah. Hated that one.
I was like, that makes me think of
A morgue? Yeah.
Yeah. What does that make me think of?
Yeah.
I don't know. A morgue.
Yeah. Morgana's fine. Keep it there.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm good.
Cool. So what are you guys excited about with this passage, with these sets of verses? What are you excited about for people to hear?
Mine is that, like, as we're starting this new practice, which is grow, how we see sanctification is not just a process that is one and done. It's constant and we keep going through it.
Yep.
And I think you're going to have times where you're like, oh man, that old thing came back again. And so you have to take it off. Yeah. It's not just as soon as you become a believer, everything kind of falls off of you. Right. It's a constant renewal. That's good.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of similar to that, and the idea of it being so encouraging to no matter what stage you are as a believer. So even if, you're a new believer and you feel like you're just kind of immature in your faith, and like you see that there is this maturing and this growing that we're striving toward, and that does happen. And then even if you're someone who, man, you feel like you've been a believer for a long time, and like Stephanie was saying, and like this thing came up, like Paul's like encouraging them to put that off, put the new thing on. Yeah. It's helpful for all stages of your faith.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very similar in that, like, I think the expectation that until we go home to be with Jesus, none of us is fully mature. And so we need people speaking into our lives. We need to be speaking into the lives of other people. And that's the way, like, Jesus wants to build his church.
Right.
I think just really excites me to envision a church that's filled with that. If people were actually, like, if we're each actually speaking the truth in love to one another and helping each other put off and put on and be renewed. It's like that's God's vision for how the church builds.
Yeah.
So, I love it.
Good stuff.
Okay. Anything else from you guys?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the Warehouse Grow Week 1. I hope your week is going awesome. Hope to see you at some point this weekend, and that this text and this conversation encourages you. If you've got thoughts or questions, as always, you can email us, warehouse@cornerstone.team. We will catch you on the flippity flop.
Hey.